Good day, everyone. Today we will be discussing our given topic, which is the biodiversity. So biodiversity, it is the short term for biological diversity. The biodiversity is from the Greek word bios, means life, and a Latin word diversitas, or known as variety or difference. This refers to the variety of all living things and their interactions. So there are three levels of biodiversity, namely species diversity, genetic diversity, and ecosystem diversity. First, species diversity refers to the variety and abundance of different life forms. That includes plants, animals, fungi, and microorganisms. So the species diversity is important in maintaining the health of the ecosystem, as well as ensuring the availability of resource for various organisms. And a high level of species diversity often indicates a well-functioning ecosystem. So, og daghan ang mga species sa isa ka ecosystem, meaning healthy ang ecosystem. Okay? Taking for example, ang ocean, maingon jud nimo nga healthy siya or abundant kung daghan po'y species nga nang mudyo, like the coral reefs, other kanang macroalgae, and kining mga animals like fishes and clams or unsa pa diha. So og daghan nga species sa isa ka isa ka ecosystem, meaning healthy pud siya, healthy ang ecosystem. Next, there are two constituents of species diversity. First is the species richness, a number of different species present in an ecosystem. Tropical areas have greater species richness as the environment is conducive for large number of species. And species evenness, relative abundance of individuals of each of these species. If the number of individuals within a species is fairly constant across communities, it is said to have a high evenness, and if the number of individuals varies from species to species, it is said to have a low evenness. High evenness leads to greater specific diversity. So species richness, meaning mo ni siya ang number sa kalain-lain nga kanang species sa usa ka area or isa ka ecosystem. And species evenness, it is kanang the abundance of different species, abundance sa kalain-lain nga species sa isa ka area. So giingon sa species richness, kung more species, greater pod or large number of species, greater richness po'y pasabot. Then sa species evenness, if there is similar abundance, there is more evenness as well. So species diversity holds significant importance in maintaining ecosystem health and balance. It contributes to water and air purification, soil fertility, climatic stability, and overall ecosystem productivity. A diverse species helps fight disasters like droughts and provides various resources for human consumption. The Amazon forest, for example, contributes 20% of Earth's oxygen. Diverse species maintain soil fertility and play essential roles in pollination, symbiotic relationship, and decomposition. Good biodiversity is crucial for human survival, and it also supports recreation, tourism, and education and research. So there are some examples of ecosystem with high species diversity are coral reefs and tropical rainforest. Next, we have the genetic diversity. Within each species, there exists a wide range of genetic variations. Genetic diversity is a product of recombination of genetic material in the process of inheritance. It changes with time and space, and it allows populations to evolve and adapt to changing environmental conditions. So, isa ka species is nasay kalain-lain nga genetic variation or kaning genetic diversity. Then, ang information sa genetic diversity is makita sa DNA or sa genetic material sa isa ka species sa isa ka species. Then, sa giingon nga ang genetic diversity kuno is the driving force of evolution because it changes man with time and space. Palingon man siya kanang sa evolve kanang mag-uban ang evolution og adaptability. Like for example sa kaning plants is murag malain jud siya. There are some genes siya nga malain tungod sa mga kanang environmental condition og makahibaw na sila og adapt, like sa mga bagyo ingana nga aron di sila dali surrender or maka-survive sila. Then next is genetic diversity is vital for various reasons. It leads to diverse physical attributes and adaptability to stress, diseases, and environmental changes, allowing the survival of the fittest in natural or human-induced environmental changes. Genetic diversity supports adaptation and species survival. It maintains different gene varieties for resistance against pests, diseases, and stress. Crossbreeding genetic variants can create plants with desirable traits. Genetic diversity also helps reduce the recurrence of undesirable inherited traits and ensure some species survival. So, manantong katong ang gipang-ingon gunja. So, there are the examples of genetic diversity. Kining sa kalain-lain nga rows og kaning breeding sa ero og kalain-lain variety sa kaning wets or bugas na like kanang tungod sa panahon murag mag-evolve pud siya magkalain-lain and mana siya. Third is the ecological diversity. Ecological diversity refers to the diverse array of ecosystem being seen in a huge geographical location. Ecological diversity is the largest scale of biodiversity on a global scale. Ecological diversity would look into the variation in ecosystem such as deserts, grasslands, forests, oceans, and wetlands. Within each ecosystem, there is a great deal of both species and genetic diversity. Ecological diversity considers the variation in the complexity of biological community. Looking at the number of niches and trophical levels there are and ecological processes. So, ecological diversity is kalain-lain nga ecosystem. For example, deserto, kaning grasslands, kalibunan or kaning sa dagat, and some wetlands, kamutuhan, something like that. And ibali may habitat or niche sa mga kalain-lain nga species. So, mao to siya.
Good day everyone, I am Leomi Bernas. Today I'm going to report the importance of biodiversity. There are four key importance of biodiversity. First, the ecosystem service. Ecosystems offer a wide range of services that are essential for human survival and well-being. These services, known as ecosystem service, include the provision of clean air and water, climate regulation, soil formation, and nutrient cycling. For instance, forests help regulate the global climate by observing and storing carbon dioxide, a green gas that contributes to climate change. Second, food security. Biodiversity is direct link to food security. A diverse array of plant and animal species provide the formation for our food system. Crop wild relatives, for example, serve as reservoir of genetic variation that can be used to develop new crop varieties which empowered resistance to pest, disease, and climate change. Additionally, many people around the world rely on wild plants and animals for a significant portion of their diet. Third, medical discovery. A wide range of biological species offered potential sources for medical discoveries. Many drugs and medicines are derived from plants, animals, and microorganisms. For example, the bark of the willow tree has been used for thousands of years to alleviate pain, which lead to the development of aspirin. Biodiversity loss may result in the extinction of species with valuable medical properties, limiting our potential for future medical advancement. Fourth, aesthetic, aesthetic and cultural values. Biodiversity contributes to the beauty and uniqueness of our planet. It supports various cultural practice and tradition, and the preservation of biodiverse areas can help protect these values for future generation. That's all for my report, sir.
Threats to biodiversity. Several factors pose significant threats to biodiversity worldwide. Some of the major threats include habitat loss, climate change, pollution, invasive species, and overexploitation of resources. Habitat loss. One of the primary drivers of biodiversity loss is the destruction, degradation, or fragmentation of natural habitats. Deforestation, agriculture, urbanization, and infrastructure development are major contributors to habitat loss. As habitats disappear, species lose their homes, leading to population declines, local extinctions, and in some cases, global extinctions. Climate change. Global warming and climate change have far-reaching impacts on biodiversity. Rising temperature, altered precipitation patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events can lead to shifts in species distribution, changes in ecosystem composition, and increased vulnerability to other stressors. Many species are unable to adapt to these rapid changes, resulting in population declines and extinctions. The pollution. Pollution in various forms poses a significant threat to biodiversity. Air, water, and soil pollution can harm organisms directly or indirectly by altering their habitats and food resources. Chemical pollutants such as pesticides and heavy metals can accumulate in the environment and food chain, causing severe health issues and even death for many species. Invasive species. The introduction of non-native species, either intentionally or accidentally, can lead to invasive species that outcompete native species for resources, disrupt ecosystem, and cause declines in native biodiversity. Invasive species can also facilitate the spread of diseases and parasites, further exacerbating the threats to native species. Overexploitation of resources. Overexploitation of resources such as overfishing, overhunting, and overharvesting of plants can lead to significant declines in population sizes and even the extinction of species. Additionally, the demand for natural resources such as timber and minerals often result in destructive practices that harm ecosystems and contribute to biodiversity loss.
Conservation efforts. As a species ourselves, we need to maintain the environment around us in order to keep the world as we know it alive. Forests provide us with oxygen while ocean and lands give us food. If these ecosystems are destroyed, they will be gone forever. Some of the key conservation efforts include the following. First is establishing protected areas. One of the most effective ways to conserve biodiversity is by setting aside protected areas, such as national parks, wildlife refuges, and nature reserves. These areas provide critical habitat for species and help maintain ecosystem process and functions. By preserving this area, we can ensure that species have the space and resources they need to survive and thrive. Next is sustainable practice. Encouraging sustainable practice in industries like agriculture, forestry, and fisheries can significantly reduce the negative impact on biodiversity. Example of sustainable practice including agroforestry, which combine crop and forestry production for increased productivity and biodiversity conservation. Responsible fishing method that minimize bycatch and habitat damage, and selective logging which reduce the impact on forests and their inhabitants. Next is rising public awareness. Increasing public awareness or understanding and appreciation of biodiversity is essential for forest steering support for conservation initiatives. This can be achieved through various means, such as educational programs, documentaries, social media, campaign, and community outreach events. By raising awareness, people become more likely to engage in pro-conservation behaviors and advocate for policies that protect biodiversity. Next is policy and legislation. Governments play a crucial role in protecting biodiversity through the development and enforcement of policies and legislation. This includes creating and enforcing law to regulate activities that impact biodiversity, such as land use planning, pollution control, and the trade of endangered species. Additionally, international agreements like the Convention on Biological Diversity provide framework for countries to work together in addressing global biodiversity challenges. Next is science and technology. Advancement in science and technology can contribute significantly to biodiversity conservation. For example, remote sensing and GIS technologies can help map and monitor ecosystem, while genetic research aid in understanding species relationship and identifying conservation priorities. Furthermore, innovation and renewable energy health green technologies can reduce the human footprints on the environment, thereby benefiting biodiversity. And that's all. Thank you.